So today's episode is a bit special. It's half experimentation, half tutorial. And it's because actually I'm building my first very simplistic agentic AI. It's nothing fancy, but it does what it needs to do and it acts like an intern. So join me today if you ever thought about automating some of your product tasks with agentic AI, then this episode is for you. Hi everyone, I'm Maria and this is She Builds Products podcast. It's a podcast where we simplify product management, we build products, and we also build our confidence along the way. So today's episode is a bit special. It's half experimentation, half tutorial. And it's because actually I'm building my first very simplistic agentic AI. It's nothing fancy, but it does what it needs to do and it acts like an intern. So what it actually does, it creates a product update status. It's a draft and it sends it to me per email. I give it some feedback. Then it incorporates my feedback and sends me the final product status update that I can share with my leadership, that I can share with my team, and so on. It's nothing fancy, it's not super intelligent, but it is my first step into agentic AI, and maybe it is yours as well. So join me today if you ever thought about automating some of your product tasks with agentic AI. Then this episode is for you. Let's start with why I built this agentic AI. You probably have experienced a scenario where you have to write a monthly product update and send it to your leadership, and you look at your backlog, you look at your sprint, and what everything that you have accomplished. And then at the end, you spend 45 minutes on writing this update, and it doesn't even look good. It looks pretty ugly at the end, and you're not proud of it. And on top of that, you also have to probably write a few versions of it because you have leadership, you have stakeholders, you have other team members, and all of them need different information. So I thought, well, what if I hire an agentic AI who will act like an intern and I will do it for free? Can I do this? So that started my exploration with agentic AI. And yeah, I basically built it. Acts like a real agent. It's asking you for feedback, incorporates it, and then sends the final draft. But if you're not ready to get into the whole agentic AI conversation, that's fine. And if you still need help with your product updates, then you should check out my previous episode, where I actually build a custom GPT, which is called She Builds Updates, of course, and it will help you write confident, professional sounding product updates. Just check out the episode. I will leave the link in the description box. But if you're ready to get into the whole agentic AI and automation, let's start. Before we get into the actual steps of how I build this agent, let's talk about what makes it agentic and what still may be missing. So it has autonomy. It actually runs without me prompting it. It acts on certain triggers in my workflow. Then second, it has memory. It stores data. So it stores the first draft that it creates, and it stores the feedback that I have given it. And this third thing, it actually acts in a loop. So if I tell it, hey, this is a perfect update, right? Just use it as it is, it will do so. But if I tell it, hey, you should add a few components, then it will also do that. So there is a feedback loop. What's not super agentic yet, right? Actually, it doesn't take an initiative. So if, for example, I was missing a section on KPIs, it wouldn't tell me, hey, you're missing KPI section. Maybe you should include that. And also what it also doesn't do, it doesn't self-correct. So if something goes wrong, then actually I have to fix it. I have to manually step in. So it is agentic. It's just very simplistic, which is fair because it's my first attempt. Let's not judge ourselves too much. I would call it like a baby agent, but it still saves you time, just enough for this type of workflow. And if we want to make it even more agentic, then we can look into that in the next episode. Let's walk through the actual workflow that I have built with make.com. So I'm using make.com just because honestly, that's the first thing that I found, which was a low code, no code platform where I can do different workflows for automation, but also integrate with different AI APIs. So for example, I'm using OpenAI API to support my workflow and my agent. So let's get into it. I will share my screen. The first thing that you will see is actually the first scenario, the first flow that I created in make.com. So we have two flows. The first one is really about creating a draft, right? And the second one will be about incorporating the feedback that I give it and sending me the final version of the product update. So really, let's look at each step one by one, how I built it. And if you have worked a bit with make.com, you'll already know, right? It's quite easy to create different modules. So for instance, here, I can add different modules very easily and can delete them. It's all no code, so you don't even need to do anything here extra, right? And if you do need to have some kind of special instructions, just use AI. I worked on this together with ChatGPT and also Claude a little bit. So the first step that we want to do, we want to have our flow monitor our Notion Springboard, and which is a Notion database basically in the background. You will need to set this integration to connect it to a specific database. So for instance, I'm connecting it to this task tracker, which honestly should be probably named a feature tracker, but let's not get into that right now. And it will get all of the items from this board. You can also do different filtering if you want to. So then the next module that we want to add, and this one was really fun to experiment with because I maybe for a person who is a software engineer would be like, yeah, of course you need an iterator. Right. But to me, it doesn't really mean anything. And I discovered it by trial and error because I just connected my Notion database and tried to send myself an email. And what happened is that it sent me like 3 different emails because it basically didn't create one email for all items. It created one email per each task. The next module is a text aggregator. So it actually aggregates everything into one message for ChatGPT because we map it to all the objects that we get from Notion. So as you can see, I'm getting a task, I'm getting details, I'm getting what's completed, status, impact, assignee, effort level. Honestly, I'm getting all of the basically columns from my task board. So the next step is really the fun step. This is where we actually connect to the Open API, the AI API. And we give it instructions. So actually, I use my instructions, basically what I did for the custom ChatGPT that I created in the last episode. I used most of it in here as well because I just want the update to look exactly the same as what my custom ChatGPT does for me because that's the format I like my updates in. What I did add though extra here is a structure of how it needs to do it, but I also included HTML format because what I discovered is actually you can send pretty cool updates using your email, but it will look like a web page. So I'm not a developer, I already said many times. And I don't know what all of this means, but I did ask ChatGPT to help me with it. And with a few tries, it actually created a pretty good format. And yeah, so here it basically shows how it should structure it, right? And with all different paragraphs and so on. And then I specify that I want to use the aggregated text, from the tools module. The next module that I'm adding here is the email. So this is really a connection to my email inbox, and it's just going to send me an email when ChatGPT is done. And after the email, it actually stores this data. So this was the module where I spent a lot of time to figure out how to actually create this database. Again, really, it's just about creating the database, identifying your key of the database, and also different columns that you want to have in there. So it's pretty easy, and actually is a good learning experience as well. If you don't know anything about databases, that's like a really easy way to get into it. So this is our flow. Let's test it out. I will run it now because when you have a free version of make.com, the fastest you can do is run it like every 15 minutes. So let's do this. Here we got our actual first email. So let's look at this. That looks already pretty good. So this is the data about my She Builds updates custom ChatGPT, the vision and goal of the product, and so on. It includes the metrics. And here is the part where it actually gets the data from Notion, right? The August highlights and what is coming next month. It's also telling me some feedback instructions, right? It's telling me, okay, so those are the examples that you can do and others as well, right? If you want to come up with something new, it will be able to handle it. So this is our draft. Pretty good already. Again, I'm biased. I created it, but I like this baby Agentic AI. Let's look at the second flow. So the second flow is really about reacting on my feedback. So theoretically, the email that we just saw, I need to reply to it. And then we have a trigger actually here in our first flow, which is email, right? It watches emails, see if there is anything new with a specific subject line. And once it gets it, it goes back to the database and it searches for the initial draft of the email that it sent. So everything that it needs to know, it is in our database. And once it gets both like the feedback and the initial draft, it feeds it into the OpenAI. And here in the OpenAI API, again, we specify, right? We specify the feedback that we get. We specify the original draft that we get, which comes from the database. We give it general instructions, like the things that I really don't like or like to include in the updates. As well, we provided the format with HTML format to include and so on, so that it is aligned with the first draft. Also, we give it instructions so that it knows how to handle different changes. So that if I want to update it within the metric section or within the roadmap section and so on, then it's able to handle it. So this is really the chat, right? That's honestly somehow was the easiest part of building this whole flow. I had to spend a little bit of time to understand how all of the other modules are working. And then the last one is the final email. So it sends me an email with the final update. Let's look how it actually works. I'll take you back to my monthly product update draft and we will reply to this email, and I will just copy paste it because I don't want you to look at how I type, and I will send it. So what I'm actually saying here in this month's highlights section, include the demo link for bullet point 1 and then remove the demo links from bullet point 2 and 3 because I don't have demo links for them here. So that's basically it. Let's send it. I need to wait a little bit until it's sent and actually I receive it in my email box because that will trigger the second flow, all right? So now the second flow should be triggered. Let me check if the flow was executed. So here we see that on make.com it actually got executed, and I did get a second email with the update. So let's see. Yes, it did do what I asked it to do. So it included the demo link. Let's see if the link works. Perfect. That's the GPT that I built. And then it removed the demo links from bullet point 2 and 3. So yay, our Agentic AI intern actually did what I asked it to do. So I would say it's a success. So that's how I built my first Agentic AI. It's a baby agent. In the first flow, it actually creates a product update based on what we've done in our sprint. It sends me a draft and asks for my feedback. I give it feedback per email. Then it incorporates that feedback. improves the draft, and sends me the final version over email again. It's not super intelligent, as you can see. It doesn't like have a memory like ChatGPT, or it doesn't learn from its mistakes yet. But it does what it needs to do, right? It observes, it acts, it improves and delivers the update as I want it. And really, it's like an intern. It's what I would ask intern to do if I had any interns, of course. So yeah, I would say it's a pretty good first step in the agentic AI world. Want to try it yourself? Want to build something similar? Here are the steps that you need to take. So step one, structure your updates. Grab my custom ChatGPT that I created in the last episode and get the help that you need to create nice looking product updates. Second, find out what repetitive steps you do to actually create those updates. Step three, you can use make.com to actually automate this, right? You don't need any code knowledge really. You just will need different connections to like Notion or to your email and so on. So that's really it. And number four, create a feedback loop. So don't just automate it, because that's just a simple automation flow, even though that's actually quite helpful. But what you can do is to create this feedback loop with an AI agent, right? Ask him to ask you for your feedback on like those status updates or meeting notes and so on. Give it feedback and then make it incorporate it and send it to you again. So really, that's pretty much it. Those are the small steps that you can take to start the agentic AI journey. And if you want to just reuse my flow, that's completely fine as well. I will link the export from make.com in the show notes in the description box. I will also link the previous episode and everything you need to have to actually just replicate what I did today. And if you like this episode, please don't forget to subscribe. I promise I will create more those tiny product builds using AI and explain exactly how I do each step. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I see you in the next episode.